He has also been a convicted felon. He spent a lot of his youth in reform camps. He's had a lot of strife and adversity with attempts on his life, more surgeries than one can imagine. So reform camps were mostly like your parents sent you there, or what did you actually go to prison for?
Yeah, so the camps were basically there. I mean, sometimes there was law enforcement involved as far as me getting pulled over and then getting in trouble, but it was their, choice to do that. I mean, and they didn't have the full details of what was happening at these schools. Obviously, none of the parents really do. It's a big manipulation. But for prison, I wound myself up. Like I said, I was getting heavy into selling drugs and doing drugs. I was like trying to be like, the main guy around town, 3 different Mercedes, showing up downtown, going to parties and selling drugs. And eventually the federal and the state narcotics agencies caught on to that and set me up an undercover sting operation where, they had a controlled buy, an undercover officer, and me selling cocaine to him and him putting in a large order and me confirming it and things like that they brought up in court and had on camera. So there's really nothing I could do. I was red-handed. I was just caught. And it took 9 years of my life altogether, 2 years of house arrest, a year or so on rehab inpatient, a year or so in jail, 2 years in prison, and then probation and this and that and everything on top of it. It definitely took a big chunk of time.
So what was the actual turning point that made you decide that wasn't the path that you wanted?
I say this a lot, that everything we do, everything, it's all for a reason, everything, every choice, every situation, it's all adding up to mean something and stuff like that. And, if you'd asked me this question a couple of weeks ago, I would have said, automatically my mind would have went to when I got out of prison and November 4th, 2011 or 12, I was getting back in the lifestyle. My father kind of nicely said to me, hey, maybe you should leave town. You're not home, you're not asking for money, I don't know what you're doing. Just go get away from it all. And I said yes, and I left my identity, my girlfriend, everything I had behind and went. But now that I've had more time to reflect and been reading my journals and writing this book, I noticed a pattern in my writing, even when I was in prison, of like hard-headed, crazy, criminal-minded kid that like also had a very good side to him that was like just peeking around the corner, that I was like always searching for something. I knew intuitively almost there was something better out there and there was something more for me. I was just blocking myself with the drugs and the partying and the money and not really seeing it. So I think the turning point, as to your question, like if I had to pinpoint it, I would say the same thing. But I believe that turning point, that it started before that, even when I was going through everything I was going through, in the middle of it, in the middle of planning how to make a next big, drug sale, coke sale, whatever it was, that my mind was also saying, one day I need to change the world. One day I need to write a book about this and teach people and help people and grow beyond it. And seeing that now, like while I'm editing and writing this book, has really, helped me a lot. And I think that's one thing that I go back on time and time again.